Hey, it's Luke here from Astro Awakening. Welcome to my YouTube channel. This video is a astrological update for the energy as we move into the year 2023. In particular, looking at Mars, Jupiter, Saturn, and Pluto over the next little 3-month period. So my previous videos just mentioned that we've had a bit of a slow start to the year. Mars has been retrograde and only just come out of retrograde in Gemini, but we've gone into a Mercury retrograde. They're pretty well connected at the moment, and I'll show you that shortly. Uranus is also retrograde and due to come out of his retrograde shortly after Mercury. So by the time we get to about the 25th, 23rd, 4th, somewhere around there of January, we start to have all planets direct. And when we move towards the end of this month, we start to have some big transformative planets as well as Saturn breaking ground. So moving into a part of the zodiac that they haven't been into in this cycle. So I'll break that down for everyone and help them understand what that may mean for them, as well as take a look at the bigger picture. And I also promised in my last video that I would take a look at Elon Musk and what he's up to. So especially with the Mars retrograde story. So Mars a retrograde in Gemini, and Mars entered into Gemini about mid-August 2022 and has been going through Gemini and then retrograding back from the 25th degree to the 8th degree. So really those born in the middle section after the first 8 days before the last 5 days of Gemini have been getting Mars energy coming into their life. Now, Mars can rule over motivation and desire, and with Mars retrograde, those things can change. An analogy is that you are driving down a road and you realize that either A, you're going down the wrong road, or B, you're driving the wrong car. What does that mean? It can mean that either A, what's happened through this retrograde phase is that you realize you don't want to go down this road. You're sick of this road. You're over this road. This isn't the road for you, or it's not what you thought it was going to be, and you don't want to go down there anymore. So to change, you have to actually stop going down that road. That road might be a metaphor for your career, a relationship, a particular habit, a hobby, passion work that you've got going on, something to do with the way you're spending or saving money. So that road is a metaphor for a life experience. So when you find yourself going down a road or some life experience that you no longer want, then don't go down the road, right? Choose a different path. So Mars retrograde is the energy of the shifting of the desire for that which you had or are getting, no longer wanting it. There's just no desire for it. It can suck when you thought it was what you wanted, but here you find yourself in it. You're on the road and you're like, oh, actually, this isn't what I thought it was going to be, and I don't want it. I have no desire for it. So you need to make some changes with that. The sun over the next, 24, 48 hours, 72 hours is going to pass over Pluto. So the stuff can be coming to light with regards to our unexpressed or unconscious desires, and really bringing awareness onto those around, the breakthrough, the aha, okay, I need to stop going down this road. The other option with Mars retrograde in Gemini is that you're going down the road in the wrong car. What does that mean? It means that you want the scenario or the situation or the experience, but the way you are approaching it needs to change. And that's likened to you're going down, like, let's say like an autobahn where you're supposed to be doing like 140 mile an hour, and you're in a little beat up sort of VW combi van that it struggles to do 60 miles an hour. In other words, you've chosen the wrong car to go down that road. And the way you're approaching that experience needs to change. Or you're on a outback dirt track in a Ferrari. It's like, this is not the way to approach that light road. That road, again, might be a metaphor for life experience that you're obligated to. Perhaps it's, you've got a career and you've got a pretty good job, but you've been approaching it from a place of like, well, I want more from it, or why can't I get the promotion? And you're becoming a little bit egocentric, a little bit irrational, a little bit selfish, and you need to stop and go, hang on a second, let's look at the bigger picture. This is what I want. This is the career I'm in. This is the, the skills I have. This is what I've worked towards. I actually do like what I do. It's just how I'm doing it and the way I'm going about it needs to change. Same with any other situation in life. It's like, okay, that's the road. Maybe I need to look at it from different eyes. Maybe I need to approach this experience from a different perspective. So yes, heavily in impacting Geminis, especially born in the middle aspect of Gemini, so right in the middle of the sign, which is usually around the 30th, 31st of May into sort of mid-June, those Gemini people. Now, it also has been greatly impacting Sagittarians born really late November and the sort of early to mid-December. Because you've had Mars in opposition to your sun sign. So it's like, being confronted by this conflict. And rather than trying to internally integrate this Mars energy, it's being expressed externally, and you're having issues with either male figures, young men, people in positions of power. You're getting frustrated, you're getting aggravated, and you're having conflict or being triggered constantly. So again, how you're approaching that trigger, how you're approaching that experience or that, that person, it's like, okay, maybe I can't, change roads because it's my boss, right? So I can't just say, fuck it, I'm not going down that road because I have to give away my job in order to do that. So maybe I need to approach my boss, the road, in a different car from a different point of view. So it's an externalization of that particular issue. And then for Virgos born very late August, early September through to sort of mid-September. And also for Pisces born very, very late February and early March. Might be experiencing that frustration, that anger, that tension, that so stop and ask yourself, am I going down the right road, or do I need to get out of this car? In other words, I need to change the way I'm approaching it. My perspective needs to shift. Mars is in Gemini, and Gemini will deal with our mental perspective, the way we think, our thought process. Perception equals reality. It's like the way you see things is the way it is. So perhaps it's about a shifting of the perception. Now, the good thing about Mars is that it's still sitting at the 8th degree where it's stationed direct, but soon it'll start to sort of pick up a little bit of speed again. And as the sun moves into Aquarius, the sun will begin to trine Mars. And then the shift can really take place. So as we move towards the end of January, we're going to have this Mars. What's that now? That's 3 + 8, 13, about 2 weeks from now. Little less than 2 weeks from now, the sun will be in trine to this Mars, and we can expect a breath of fresh air, the shift, the change, the powering up of our willpower, our motivation, our desire, our direction, our decisiveness, our courage, our martial energy, really integrating that with that sun trine. And that comes off the back of some planets breaking ground in the end of January, which is why I feel like the beginning of 2023 is just a continuation of 2022 until we get sort of to the end of January. All planets will be direct. And then we have these Saturn, Pluto breaking ground. Early February, we've got Jupiter breaking ground. Mars won't break ground until the 14th, 15th of March. So Mars won't clear its retrograde shadow until then. And then 26th of March, Mars finally moves into Cancer. So there's another shift. Sort of, I think February is going to be like swinging along really quick. February is going to be one of those months that goes like that. And then we're going to get into March and there's going to be some major shifts. So we'll go forward shortly and take a look at those. However, I did promise to talk about Elon Musk and Twitter and what's happening. Now, disclaimer, I care not what his hidden motivations or agendas are. I know he's into Neuralink. I can tell you right now that there is no way, just like I never will take an inoculation being mandated or coerced towards me, because it's my body and my choice and my sovereignty, and I will never sacrifice my soul for anything ever, ever in that nature. So it's my choice. I would rather die than do something like that, but because I know I'll die with a connection deeply to my soul and I not lose that. So Neuralink, is Elon's acquisition of Twitter just an ability to access data for his to test and perfect algorithms to use in his Neuralink? Probably, probably. Am I ever going to sign up? Or no, never. So does it affect me? Not one fucking bit. For those people that want to plug a chip into their brain and have them be able to think, Google, what's this? And Google, what's that? Go for it. Go for it. If that's what you want to do, transhumanism, and you want to become a cyborg, fucking go for it. Am I going to do that? No, no. My feet are on the earth, barefoot, connected to the mother, connected to the father. I don't need no artificial intelligence. I got the Almighty's intelligence. So, and accessing that is far beyond any sort of creation that man could ever come up with, in my opinion. But is that the hidden nefarious motive of his acquisition of Twitter? Possibly. But what I do know that has happened since he's bought Twitter. Now, when did Elon Musk buy Twitter? He finalized the acquisition about a day or two before Mars went retrograde, right? Why? Because Mars deals in direction, motivation, desire, the way you do things. And what was Mars retrograde in Gemini? Gemini is the bird sign, right? It's mutable air. Birds are flapping their wings and, creating that sort of, they live in the air realm. Bird is a real symbol of air. So the bluebird, the Twitter, is definitely a symbol of Gemini. It's a social media site, which Gemini is very social. And it's a form of communication, which is Gemini ruled through Mercury. So Mars in that sign doing retrograde, that's a pretty rare retrograde. It just so happens that Elon Musk, whose name translates to light on zodiac, L-E-L, light, L is light for electricity, light on, right? Light on. So his name is Light On. Turn the light on. What? Musk. Well, Musk is another word we can substitute for zodiac. In fact, Musk is that sort of blending of all these different aromas into a musky sort of smell. And that musk is a scent that vibrates at the same frequency as the zodiac, literally. So it's light on zodiac. Now, and he has astrological knowledge. He's most likely an occult magician, an awakened sort of being. And again, I'm not saying I agree with what he's doing or I have an opinion on where he's coming. I really don't give two squirts of cat's fucking piss. But he has deep astrological knowledge. Tesla, right? He's obsessed with going to what planet? Mars. Okay, he's a Cancerian, native of Cancer, with Aries rising. So he has a natural chart, right? So he has Aries on his rising sign. He buys Twitter. A day or two later, it's Halloween. He dresses up in a leather-bound warrior, almost armor or suit. And people all over the internet were screaming, saying he's got Baphomet on his chest plate. He's the devil or Satan worship. And I'm looking at it, it's a fucking ram. He had a ram embossed in his chest plate, right? And the ram is a symbol for Aries. The ruling planet of Aries is Mars. He's going to Mars. Well, he's not going to Mars. He's programming you to think that you can go to Mars. Mars is probably just on the plane of existence where we live beyond the ice wall. Probably is just another terrain that we call Mars, Mars land, right? As a little dot in the sky, you're going to send a rocket to? Bollocks, baloney. Absolutely not. That's some sort of scam that's being, I think he's got some sort of, it's my own opinion, but I think he's got some sort of deal to sort of be able to play a role and do what he does and the way he does it and have his companies, but he has to also, continue to fake space program from a commercial perspective to just help support and perpetuate the bullshit globe life model. But anyway, I digress. Tesla. is Tesla cars. The symbol for Tesla is the symbol for Aries, just sort of tweaked a little bit. He has the T, which is coming down for the Tesla, right on top of the number 5, which it's the S for Tesla, but if you look at it, it's the number 5. The number 5 is the Sephiroth that relates to this, and the number that resonates with the planet Mars, especially in the Tree of Life, the Kabbalah. This guy knows his stuff, and he's chosen to do what? Shift the narrative, bringing a lot of information to light, especially with Mercury retrograde in conjunct Mars, stationed with the Sun Pluto conjunction. A lot of information is coming to light, especially on the Twitter files and the way in which the agenda was coerced, manipulated, and also those that spoke out against it were censored over the last 2 years. Now, for those watching this channel, we already fucking knew it was bullshit, and now the actual information is coming to light to actually prove that. So it has the potential to wake up some more muggles, but I feel it's just preparation of what's to come. I feel actually that, part of the agenda was not only to go through all this, but to also have it come to light and to be revealed. So more on that in another time. But his acquisition of Twitter, if you go back to August last year, this sort of stuff around the coercion, the censorship, it was speculated, but there was no real evidence. And now there's more and more and more and more and more evidence. There's also more and more and more and more doctors speaking out, and their accounts are being reinstated on Twitter, so they've got a voice. Vaccine information, which is correct and true, not government propaganda, is no longer being censored on that platform. So you can see what leading doctors and oncologists and cardiovascular surgeon and all sorts of people all over the world are saying about what's happening and what the agenda has been. So it's a real interesting thing to just observe and witness. There's a shift of the narrative. Information Gemini coming to light, which is creating a little bit of a war of words, the conflict. And that story is still playing out. So I just wanted to tap into that a little bit in this video to give you my sort of take and perspective on things. I think it's probably, sorry, I shouldn't say I think it's probably part of the bigger agenda, which, is there something going on? Like if in my last video with the great eclipses across America, the Grand Conjunction, yeah, there's stuff. There's some deep stuff going on behind the scenes that we fucking have no idea. We can speculate all day long, and we can get little bits and crumbs here and there. Well, we won't really know. Do we need to know? Not really. We just need to be aware. And detachment is key as we move into, this year. We're going to get this Pluto into Aquarius for the first time in our lifetimes. Aquarius is all about detachment, objectivity, clarity. Just take the emotions, see it for what it is. It's things coming to light. It's knowledge and knowing and gnosis. It's also the sign that rules over humanity. So as we get to the end of this month, around the 29th, 30th of January, Pluto will move beyond the 28th degree of Capricorn, where it stationed retrograde last year. So it's going to move into the final degree of Capricorn before it ingresses into the first degree of Aquarius. So those people born on the cusp of a cardinal sign or a fixed sign. So cardinal cusp, cardinal fixed. Who is that? That's the Aries Taurus cusp, right? It's the Cancer Leo cusp. It's the Libra Scorpio cusp. It's the Capricorn Aquarius cusp. In particular, Capricorn Aquarius, because Pluto will be at the 29th degree of Capricorn Aquarius. So if you were born on the last day of Capricorn, the first day of Aquarius, you're about to have Pluto come to town. Now, you've probably felt this influence over the last year or so, because Pluto can sort of start to press upon the unconscious, and his influence can come through in dreams, through subconscious symbols and synchronicities, and it can almost be like this shifting of something within you. A deep desire that's coming, that's wanting revelation or revealing, no longer wants to be held or repressed or pushed down, and it's coming to the surface. Whenever you've got Pluto involved in an aspect of your chart or your life, or it's coming through a transit, demands the ultimate truth. and it must come to light. It must come into the consciousness and affect change, right? How you deeply feel is what you must align to with authenticity. The scary thing is that can often mean that something must die. And again, I'm using death as a metaphor. Something must end for that truth to come to light. Most people realize that, so they repress it. They hold it, they push it. They don't want to deal with it. They don't want to, express it. They don't want to, they just want to, keep the peace or go along, or they're happy in their unhappy comfort zone. Well, the Pluto transit is about, that is either going to do one of two things. It's either going to create a crisis where it comes to light anyway, or it's going to make you ill. Now, when I say it's going to make you ill, you're going to make yourself ill. Because when you have an unexpressed deep desire of truth that you deny and repress, usually what happens is that intense emotional energy is getting stored within our physical body. And our physical body can't sustain the continual repression of that energy. So it manifests physically within the body, and we feel that as dis-ease or illness or sickness or cancer or some, unfortunate medical situation where now you're forced to change. Now the desire must change, your life must change, the direction must change, this must come to light. Otherwise, it's a matter of dealing with unwellness, or some type of crisis can manifest, and literally, it's like, oh my God, my husband's come home and told me he's been sleeping with my neighbor for a year or two, and I haven't even known. Yet all along, deep down, you've been thinking, I don't really want to be with him anymore. I'm no longer in love. I don't know. What am I going to do? I'm married. I have children. I can't do this. And all of a sudden a crisis manifests, and the situation comes to light that there's been infidelity and he's been sleeping with the neighbor, and you're shocked, and how could he? But yet deep down, that's what you were desiring. You no longer had a desire for that. Sometimes it can be you manifesting a reality within your experience to be able to express and feel and connect to that desire. So that unexpressed desire within the relationship, yes, let's use that as the example. You no longer desire, intimacy or connection or love with your partner. So all of a sudden, mysterious person enters your sphere of influence for you to act out that desire. And then infidelity happens, or an affair, or, heartbreak and hurt and all sorts of things. So how do you overcome that in transition and use this Pluto energy to your potential? Is you go through the process of self-transformation, be truthful, be brutally honest with yourself, own it. If that's what you want, that's what you want. And it's not what you want, like, oh, I think I want it. It's like, it's what you deeply want. It's what your soul wants. And try as you might to keep a lid on it, the more you try to sustain that desire or repress that desire, the more pressure builds up, the more intensity builds up, the more likely you're heading towards catastrophe or crisis as a result. So align to it. Now, if you need help coming to terms with that, or getting really conscious of it, or really owning it, then I'd recommend that you talk to someone like myself who deals with this type of thing regularly, or a counselor, a psychologist, some type of person that can help you, with the coming to terms, coming to conscious realization, getting to grips with it, so that then you can plan out the best course of action for you. But do not sit on it. Do not hide from it. Do not deny it. Do not avoid it. Do not distract from it. Do not escape from it. You cannot. If you're born in the last degree cusp of Capricorn, or the first degree of Aquarius, it's time for Pluto to come to town, go through that Phoenix process, the purging of everything that's not aligned, the purging of everything that's not aligned. Shit, fuck, I'm not aligned to my career, my health's not aligned, my partner's my relationship. What do you go through? You go through a crisis. You go through a dark night of the soul. Things have to break down, die, and be reborn. The phoenix rising from the ashes, it's the ashes of the fire that burns all the impurities away. That's the symbol, the motif of this type of experience. It can be so empowering. It can be so intense. It can be so miraculously soul enrichingly beautiful. And it can also be dark and helpful and helpless and all sorts of things. Pluto being in Capricorn since 2008, we're going to have Pluto moving into Aquarius 24th of March this year. This is new energy. We haven't experienced this before, but the evolutionary intent for transformation on a collective level is going to go up another notch. So if you've been going through an awakening over the last couple of years, be prepared for those around you to start going through that. You know, parents, siblings, friends, colleagues, those that you thought never would, probably going to start to come to you to start questioning things. It's just naturally going to occur. We've already reached tipping point or beyond the point of no return with regards to the process of awakening, and it's not going back. People aren't going to shut up. People aren't going to just deny and push this aside. We're going to see a collapse of the current systems of government, of medicine, of economics, of education, of all sorts of systems that have power and control over people, that limit and restrict them and don't create equality and freedom, are going to come through their Pluto moment. So over the next couple of years, there's going to be a lot of breaking down to break through. So those of you that are awakening or on your path, it's going to be quite liberating and freeing, and a little bit of like, aha, radio, it's time. And it's just about detaching. Supporting those that want support, holding the light for those that seek it, but allowing the process to take place. Many casualties will go down with it. Many casualties. When Pluto was going through Capricorn, it opposed Cancer, right? I don't know what it's been like outside of Australia and other Western countries, but pretty much from 2008 intensely. Before that, I'll admit, but really intensely. We've had the rise of Bunnings. We've had the rise of the weekend warrior. We've had the rise of home renovation, of, doing the, home type of self transformation of the home. There's been countless shows on television about it. So that we've had a lot of transformation through this Cancer archetype. Yes, we also had the subprime mortgage collapse crisis, banking crisis collapse, because, Capricorn rules those sort of banking structures, government as well. That was not resolved. It was band-aided. That financial system and the systemic fundamental issue and problem at a core level with our monetary system was not resolved with Pluto's transit into Capricorn. Will it, finally break down within the next 2 years? That is my firm belief. Probably 2024 would be the year that I look to that. The collapsing of the world economic system, the financial system, the US petrodollar, and what's going to go beyond that? I don't wish to speculate at this point, but I do think that is on the cards, especially as Pluto goes into Aquarius, back into Capricorn through retrograde, back into Aquarius, back into Capricorn through retrograde, back into Aquarius. And then finally, as we move out of 24 and into 2025, Pluto will be into Aquarius finally. So these types of systems, the reason why when you look at the moment at the political system, at the education system, at the banking system, at the media system, at all these types of systems, they look like, what the fuck? Who's running these? Like, look at the type of people that we've got as so-called leaders of these types of systems. They are soulless people. They are egocentric and puppets of, they've always been that, but it's very obvious now, and they're really scraping the bottom of the barrel because it's getting to the end of their usefulness. Those systems are no longer supporting humanity's desire for change and transformation. It's not supportive of that process. So again, a bit of a digression, but just watch over the next few years of this shit breaking down. When we get into the 27th of, sorry to break that news to you, Cuspies. Aquarius, I'll go through it again. It's Aquarius Taurus Cusp. So born on the very last degree of Aquarius, last day of Aquarius, Aries. And that would be, what's that, April 19th, and April 19th, April 20th. Those birthdays in particular for the Aries Taurus cusp. With Cancer Leo cusp, it will be July 22nd to 23rd born, 23rd, 24th, around that period of time, for the Cancer Leo cuspies. For the Librans, it will be September 23rd, I believe it is, and September 24th. No, not September, my bad, October 22nd, October 23rd. So as we're moving from the Libra Scorpio cusp, and then, like I've suggested, which is the Cancer Aquarius, so cusp people. So those having their birthday over the next few days, literally, which it's time for deep Pluto transformation. It's on its way. Now, Saturn retrograded last year at the 25th degree of Aquarius. It's still at the 24th degree, which means it's in its shadow period. It hasn't yet gone into the last 5 degrees of Aquarius before it breaks into Pisces and ingresses into Pisces March the 8th. 2023, we're going to have Saturn finally move into Pisces, the Lord of Karma, planet that rules time. It is time. What time is it? It's Pisces time. It's endings, undoings, karmic releasings. Pisces is a very emotionally sensitive sign, can deal with such a huge spectrum of different emotions, from euphoria and transcendental type experience to a full, complete, blown psychotic breakdown, depression, addiction, victim mood. So, there's going to be a solidification of that spectrum. So, being in your heart, doing your releasing, forgiving yourself, forgiving those that trespass. This is the work that's going to be required. And as we get on the 27th of, we'll get into Saturn in Pisces shortly, but as we get on the 27th of January, Pisces is going to pass its retrograde degree and make it into the last 5 degrees of Aquarius. Now, Saturn usually influences our lives for about a 8, 9, 10-month period. Right? In other words, there we go through this Saturn period of life where Saturn's doing it's the hard work. We're faced with challenges. We've got to do the work. We've got to be persistent and patient. We've got to be methodical and pragmatic. We've got to roll up our sleeves and just get shit done. We sometimes feel overburdened, undervalued, under-recognized. We can sometimes feel or have issues with authority. We can sometimes be dealing with an overemphasis of obligation or responsibility. So it can be pretty challenging. And usually it's us needing to mature in that aspect of life, whatever it's impacting us. It's like, step up here. You've got to go through this aging process here. You've got to mature a little bit. You've got to take more responsibility. Now, usually because of Saturn's retrograde period, this will affect over a 9-month period. There is about 20% of people, though, that will only get Saturn past a particular sensitive point in their chart over 1 pass, not 3 passes, right? And those people this year are those born in the last 5 days of Aquarius. So from about February 14th to the 19th, those born between February 14th and Feb 19th, you're going to have Saturn pass only once over your sun. And you might think, oh, joy, I only have, and that's going to do it over about a 2-week period between January the 27th and March the 8th. This is when that's likely to occur for you, depending on, where your sun is based on that date of birth. You're going to have about a 2-week period of Saturn, hitting your sun. And you might think that's awesome, but usually what happens is you get 9 months worth of challenge, limitation, restrictions, and hard work in 2 weeks. So, it's a real maturing process. Those people born with Saturn in Aquarius, so you would be now coming to between 29 and 31 years of age. you're having the final part of your Saturn return. And those that are stepping into like 28 and a half, 29, 29 and a half years of age, you're having your Saturn return as Saturn enters into Pisces. So this is the maturing process where you start to break away from your parents and your family. Up until your first Saturn return, you generally look at those within your life in positions of authority or old elders as somewhat having it all worked out, that they know what they're doing, who they are, and they've got a plan and they're sticking to it. And when you get to your Saturn return, late 20s, so 29, 9.5, 30, 31, sometimes 28, you realize no one knows what the fuck they're doing, so I better pretend I do. We can start to feel socially the impact of Saturn at that age, and it's all, well, when are you going to settle down, and when are you going to have a baby, and when are you going to buy a house, and when are you going to start a real career or a real job? So all that real talk, and you can start to think, from this, fear or lack at that age of like, oh, maybe there's something wrong with me because, like, I'm 28 now and I haven't even married or settled down. Settling is a thing that commonly people do at their Saturn return. At the age of 29, 30, they settle because they've gotten to that point where they think, oh, time is running out, I better just settle. Usually those that do will find that settlement, whatever that may be, into a career or into a relationship in particular, because this is what our society has deemed as things of measurements of maturity, marriage and family or career. If you settle into something and it's not deeply what you want at that age, you're just thinking that's the pressure, you're succumbing to it, you'll be tested in 7 years. And the longevity of that commitment will really come under scrutiny in 7 years when you get your first Saturn square. So whether it goes past that point or not depends on a lot of different factors, but just know that if you settle, you're going to have to deal with that fact that you settled at some point. So my advice would be never fucking settle. You're worth it. You just have to realize it. Take responsibility can mean, yeah, I'm going to do my own thing. I'm going to fucking not listen to other people. I'm going to say to do it my own way. I'm going to become more authoritarian in my life. Take control. Be the author. Write the script. Yeah. And what are you going to write? Whatever you like. As long as you are embodying that Saturn energy. Don't succumb to the pressure of others, because it's just it's a figment of imagination, literally, like that you have to do something at a certain age because you're a certain age. That's bollocks. You can do whatever you want within reason, whenever you want, within reason, and certainly from adulthood on. Will there be consequences? Yeah, and Saturn rules those. You reap what you sow. So yes, you can do whatever you want, but you reap what you sow. And that's Saturn's lesson. Do whatever you want. You don't have to do that work. You don't have to put that money away. You don't have to do that exercise. No, but you'll reap what you sow. What energy and effort you put in, you get out. The law of equivalent exchange. The law of equivalent exchange. You get out what you put in. What are you putting in? So those of you born 14th Feb through to the 19th Feb, buckle up. Saturn's about to do his thing to the sun, mature, take responsibility, step up, and don't overdo it. Saturn doesn't like extremes, likes things in moderation. So don't overdo it. Don't overburden yourself. If you are feeling a little bit down, depressed, or heavy, again, reach out, have a session, bring some light into your world. Saturn will then move into Pisces. Now, Saturn has been for the last almost 5 years in Capricorn and Aquarius, and Saturn rules Capricorn and Saturn co-rules Aquarius. Saturn's strong in those signs. Saturn in Capricorn, especially, pandemic era, we had, a lot of authoritarian type restrictions. We had a government propaganda planned pandemic, which is Capricorn. But what did that do when Saturn was in Capricorn? It would put a lot of pressure on Cancer, which rules the home and the mother, also the emotions. We were locked down in our home. We couldn't see our loved ones. There was restrictions. We were isolated. So it definitely, challenged our Cancer energy and archetype. Then Saturn moved into Aquarius, and it did that, and like on my last video, you would know, it did that at the grand conjunction at the end of 2020 on the winter solstice. It moved into, with Jupiter, into 0 degrees of Aquarius. Very, very sensitive point within the sky, going to be activated by Pluto's transit shortly in March, why big things are going to come to light, especially if we go back to 2020 and what was happening around then, especially when it comes to the clot shot, government, global governments, New World Order bullshit. So when Saturn moved into Aquarius, though, we had the coerced mandates, right? Which was now, it's for the greater good, right? Which was this guise of like, you have to do the right thing for the greater good. Don't be selfish, right? Your will didn't matter. Selfish will, these archetypes of Leo. So when Saturn's been in Aquarius, the Leo energy's been really challenged. And I should know, as I've had Saturn in opposition to my Mercury in Leo for 9 months. Hence why I've, probably not been as consistent or as energetic on my social media platforms in that period of time, because it's been intense, it's been heavy, it's been like, you know what, I don't feel like contributing, I've got nothing to say. Just doing my thing, working hard, seeing lots of people, helping them do the work, guiding and them doing the regressions and the healings. But have I got much to say about what's going on in the world? That's going to shift. But what happened with Saturn in Aquarius was Leo was challenged. Leo deals with our personal willpower, and your will didn't matter. You're being selfish. You're killing granny. Remember, we're all in this together. Remember the virtue signaling that was going on? All the celebrities that were coming out, and still they're ongoing, dribbling out the bullshit from their mouths about what we should and shouldn't be doing. Well, as we liberate and we move into the age of Aquarius, where it's a balancing between these two archetypes. We've got Aquarian energy, which is about liberation. It is about humanitarianism. It is about, equality for each and every one of us. It's about the awakening of the people. But it also brings into this aspect of Leo, which is living from our heart, being kind, generous, and giving. Also being able to express yourself and having free, right? Aquarius, and then Leo, will, right? Free will. But with Saturn here, this free will was like no free will. You had to have a really strong will to not succumb to the propaganda and the coercion and the mandates over the last couple of years. Well, all that's coming to light now. How do you think those people are feeling that didn't have strong will? Why is that important? Because Saturn's going to move into Pisces, and that's going to oppose Virgo. Virgo rules wellness, health, mind-body connection. Virgo's co-ruled with Gemini, with Mercury as the ruling planet. And this is the caduceus that we find on the side of hospitals, paramedics. We also have the RX symbol on the bottom of pharmaceutical drugs, because the RX is a symbol of retrograde, which is what pharmaceuticals do. They retrograde you. They don't heal you. They just retrograde the symptom. So we don't have the symptom goes away. We've retrograded it. It's an illusion. It's a trick. It's Mercury, the trickster, and it's a scam, right? So as we move into the age of Aquarius more fully, we're going to come off the mutable cross, which is ruled by Jupiter and Mercury, right? Jupiter in Sagittarius, Mercury in Gemini, Jupiter in Pisces, Mercury in Virgo. We're going to come off that cross and we're going to move on to the fixed cross, and we're going to be dealing with Saturn in Aquarius, the Sun in Leo. We're going to be dealing with Venus in Taurus and Scorpio, which is Mars. So we're going to have different energy in control and in charge. But this Mercury, this sinister, hermaphroditic trickster, this, neither masculine nor feminine, both this transmutation of genders, all of this is an indication of the end of an age. It's all coming to light to be purged out, and it's coming to light, and it's ugly as fuck. And it's in the guise of free will and liberation, and no, it's not. It's a mind virus, which is what has happened over the last couple of years in particular. It's a mind virus. The impact of that, the impact of the heavy burden on our emotions, the realization of the emotional state, the concretization of our unstable emotional state, the victim mode that will be activated is going to end. Not only that, we've also seen that the clot shot has huge impact on the blood and the heart and the brain, right? So the blood and the heart is Leo, Mars. The brain is the Mercury, right? We're going to get more and more and more of this. The pressure that we've felt with Saturn in Capricorn and Aquarius, in the home in Cancer, in the will in Leo, is now going to move to Virgo, which is the health system. I personally was in a regional health hospital, won't mention names, over the Christmas break on Christmas Day with my son, who had a little accident, very minor, but needed to go to hospital. They are not going to cope with what's coming. They can't cope as it is. It was a joke. I actually said to the woman, once it was 7 hours to get a little tiny stitch in his foot. And I said to the woman, "Are you always this busy?" She goes, "Oh, well, we're not busy." I'm like, well, it was 4 hours for him to sit there with blood coming out of his foot and a piece of plastic jammed in it to get seen. And then it was 3 hours for them to work out what to fucking do about it. X-rays, they were going to send him for an MRI. It was a joke. It was laughable. So the health system, I have empathy and compassion for those working within it, that have, that's their line of work, and good on you, for the work that you're about to do, not the bullshit disco dancing that happened over the last 2 years, but what you're about to do and go through. But, the health system in general is going to collapse. Is it, what's that going to look like? How's that going to impact people? I don't know, but it's all these systems are going to collapse. Then when they're not, we can't rely on these systems. We have to think about, we have to come up with a better way with health. We don't have a health system. We have a sick system, right? It's a sick system, and it's sick. But it's going to be put under a lot of pressure with Saturn's ingress into Pisces. Saturn will be in Pisces for 2.5 years, right through this very destructive period as Pluto moves in and out of Aquarius, Capricorn. We're going to have Saturn right through. Saturn will make a conjunction the following year in 2024 with Neptune, and then right into 2025. Actually, it'll be in 2025. My mistake. The only good thing about Saturn in Pisces this year will be Jupiter will move into Taurus. Jupiter breaks ground around the 14th of February, moves into an aspect of Aries that it hasn't been yet in the last 12-year cycle. So it's good for those Arians. They're really going to get Jupiter energy coming through. So growth and abundance and confidence, self-belief, a new direction. Those of you having your Jupiter return with Jupiter in Aries or Jupiter in the first 15 degrees of Taurus, you're going to have your Jupiter return. It's a breath of fresh air and a new vision of life, the optimism and belief to actually go in the right direction. And this is the way you're going to do it. It might be an expansion through either higher learning, philosophy, spirituality, or maybe even overseas travel or a deep, long distance relocation. So Jupiter's going to mitigate a lot of this Saturn energy as it moves into Pisces by being in Taurus, because it's going to create a nice sort of sextile between those, which tends to take the pressure off the Pisces and Virgo axis, because you'll have Jupiter in an Earth sign. And that Jupiter into the Earth sign, he ingresses on the 17th of May, where he'll then remain for about 12 months in Taurus. So in that time, Jupiter will be then co-present in the same sign with Uranus. Uranus is about liberation of the monetary system, the food system, the food supply, farming. And Jupiter is going to really amplify that. And when it does, I suspect that the conjunction of Jupiter and Aquarius, which in the tropical system, I think is happening to 24 degrees or something like that of Taurus. In the sidereal system, that will be Uranus's first ingress into Taurus. So that's really going to impact the global economic system. But again, more on that on a later video. So about now, I'm going to wrap this up. Mercury's still retrograde, will be retrograde. Let's just have a quick look. Mercury's going to be retrograde. Where is that? 18th. I think it's late on the 18th, so you can wake up 19th, which is Thursday. Mercury will be direct. Now, when Thursday, so that's tomorrow, isn't it? Yeah, God, time flies. Geez, there we go. So tomorrow, Mercury's stationing. It's stationing at 8 degrees. Mars is at 8 degrees, but they're in conjunct each other. They're 150 degrees. Frustration, miscalculation, a little bit of overexertion, or not, having the mind on what you're exactly doing. I've definitely felt this influence over the last week or so. I banged my toe. I fell over at the water park I was at with the kids. I've been a bit antsy and frustrated, and little things have been getting me off. I sat in meditation 2 days ago, and I was like, fucking got out of it. And I was like, oh, God wasn't happy this morning. So, amplification of that energy over the next few days. So just, I've been starting the day going to the beach and just chilling and grounding, and yeah, it's been nice. So Mercury will go direct. By Thursday morning, we're going to wake up with a direct Mercury. And then when is it? It is there on the 23rd of January, which is Monday. We're going to have Uranus direct. So there we have, by the time we get to Monday next week, all planets direct. By the time we get into the 27th, we're going to have new energy coming through. Saturn's moving into a new part of the sign, the sky that it hasn't been in 30 years. Pluto starts to move into a part of the sky at the end of January that it's not been in 248 years. So, expect the shift. I feel like February is going to be a really swift month. It's going to hum along really quickly, and then, brace yourself for March, which is the beginning of the end, and the end of the new beginning, which is probably going to take a 2.5 year period. So, yeah. Again, I'm not putting these videos up to alarm you. I'm putting them up so that you become aware. I'd love to hear what you have to say and what your experiences are. I appreciate your support. I'm sorry I haven't been there as much as I'd like to have been over the last 6 months or so. But now you can maybe understand a little bit why. If you are personally affected astrologically by stuff that you're unaware of, or you're feeling and you don't know how to process, by all means, reach out. If you're going through shit in your life and you're not even into astrology, and someone put you into my videos and said, got to watch this weird bald guy speak about astrology, he's got tattoos and he talks about tool, and you're just going through stuff, why use astrology? Because it is the symbolic language of the self, right? It's a sky clock. We don't look to the clock and say that the clock is time. We say that the clock is telling us time. When we look to the sky, we don't say that's it. We say it's helping us understand what is. And we are what is, and we are evolutionary, moving through the evolutionary process of, change and transformation, and in evolvement, and towards enlightenment. And when we become conscious of that journey, then life starts to make sense, and we can start to approach our challenges from a different point of view, and we can overcome things, and we can learn to let go, and we can do the work, and we can just become better fucking humans as a result. And through my own personal awakening journey, it's been such a remarkable tool to have, to continually refer back to. It's not something you just do once and be, oh, okay, I had my chart done once. It's you. It's like, it's the continual reassurance and guidance. It doesn't mean you have to live your life completely by the book. It just helps you go, okay, I've got this coming up, right? So that's going on. For me personally, in my personal relationships, it's helped me grow and expand, and help me just go through my shadow work, because I understand what's at play and how to interact and what it's asking of me, and how to approach things, and when to let things go, and when to hold on to things, and when to make a stand, and when to not, and when to just, connect and not connect, and all those types of things. So my point is that if you're going through some shit and you don't know what to do or how to do it, then I'm here to help you, not because I'm going to do it for you, but I'm going to bring to light the breakthrough that you might need. Aha, okay, I get it. I've never had to explain that way. No, I see for the first time. I really feel it. And that's the work I do. I also support people by going back into past lives to regress them into experiences to help understand some of these deep unconscious patterns of dysfunction, to bring those to light, to do the necessarily healing, releasing, and letting go and transformation. I'm an energy healer, so I do quantum energy healing, which is like Reiki, but not Reiki. And when I do that, I can tap in, and often deceased ancestors will be there with messages or with their presence or their energy. So that's what I can offer, and hope that I can help you on your journey. And I hope that you step onto your path and you realize that that is the great work. And when you become conscious in this lifetime of that, you are now able to continue that path from a place of conscious awareness. And I tell you what, life gets better and better and more fulfilling. And you're able to deal with the shit a lot easier and detach from things that mean nothing, because at the end of the day, it all doesn't really mean much. Right? What matters most is here in connection to this, connection to the self, to the heart, and through that to the source and the Almighty, and your feet firmly planted on this beautiful divine earth with the great mother completely nurturing and nourishing us, with our Son, Father, inspiring us. So I hope to be able to help you along that journey. Thanks for watching. Cheers. And now to stop it. Stop that and end there. Goodbye.